Thanks, Red Deer. It's Mayor Ken coming at you with another After Council recap today. And my goodness, we couldn't be in a better location with better companies, frankly. Today, fellow Rotarian Dina Court is with me today. Dina, always great to have you come down to City Hall Park. Could be a bit noisy. Hopefully it won't be political noise today. And we'll talk about some great things and that kind of thing. So, yeah, let's proceed.
Well, thank you for having me.
Totally.
I love this space. It is so beautiful, and we have a perfect day.
It is that, Dina. You know, it's pride and joy. You know, City Hall Park, I would say for the 12 months a year, is really a park of two seasons. One is obviously winter, but it's the lighting season. 300,000 lights are what's hung here through the park. You know, to give Red Deerians from the middle of November to around the 1st of February or so, you know, a little bit of brightness on those really dark early days, you know, kind of thing. And then obviously there's the seasonal change that we're enjoying right now, which is really about 5-6 months of the park's life. So it's pretty amazing. I get the best seat in the house from my office there to take a look and really just enjoy what the park brings.
I love the whimsy that you shared with us just before we started recording of what you see out of your window in the gardens that people can watch for.
Well, they can. Every year, the parks crew put different slogans into the flower beds, particularly the flower beds just below my office there. And so there's a couple there for Fleetwood Mac fans out there with all great, with respect to Fleetwood Mac. It's you can grow your own way, so there you have it. And then the other one is a little more hip hoppy. Etc. I'm sexy and I mow it. So those are fun ways for the parks crew to have a little fun and so on. So pretty
amazing.
Nice. You bet.
Should we jump into the questions?
We should jump into the questions. We probably have people saying, Mayor, why are you chewing up time and you're not getting to the point? So there you go.
Council supported selling city land to Habitat for Humanity for $42,000 and directed administration to develop a land sale policy for nonprofits by the end of this year, 2025.
Yes.
Mayor, why is it important to take this step now? And what do you hope this new policy will enable when it comes to housing and partnerships?
Yeah, that's a great question because it shouldn't come as any surprise, Dina, that we get approached, the city gets approached frequently by groups, for example, or individuals that are trying to get donations of land to build homes and so on. And we really have no, what I would call directional policy on that. We do our best to accommodate it, but we don't have a policy where we can be defensible and equitable, being fair right across the spectrum. In this particular case, we had a very odd-shaped lot, and it'd been on the market for 10 years, no takers, bit of a pie-shaped lot backing onto a berm on 22nd Street, and so on. And Habitat for Humanity approached us indicating that they could make a project out of that for 2 families. So a couple of things. Habitat has a very unique housing formula, which you may be familiar with. When you get qualified, you actually contribute to the home with your own labor. So people actually work on the homes that they're building. And the requirement is 300 hours of labor into your own home per owner. So that's a differential for Habitat. The city, I think, looked at it as well from the context that it takes or it costs $5,000 to $10,000 a year to snowplow, to cut grass on these lots, those kinds of things. So there's the obvious benefit of turning the lot into something and then collecting tax on it in future years as opposed to it costing right now. Everyone wins in this particular situation, but we have no definitive policy. So I'm looking forward to a housing policy where everybody can say, hey, we fit that policy or we don't, and we can go forward. In this case, I described it in council on Monday as the ugly duckling of housing lots. It was really an ugly duckling. and we sold it, to an organization that'll provide the dream of home ownership for two families. So I think everybody wins.
I love that. It is a win-win. Thank you. Council directed administration to provide an annual report on downtown parking,
Yes.
including revenue, usage, and grant impacts.
Yes.
Now, what motivated this notice of motion, and how will the new data help inform future downtown decisions? And how do you see this influencing the broader strategy for downtown revitalization?
Well, the word parking can often be a lightning rod for people. I don't know anyone who jumps for joy when they get a parking ticket. I'm so happy today that I've landed with this ticket is really not the experience of most Trinitarians. So it was we switched over, just to give context, Dina, we switched over from meters to a digital system a year ago, 15 months ago, because the meters are virtually extinct in the marketplace now. You can't get parts. They're labor intense. They're coin operated, all those kinds of things. So something had to be done. We had a perfect storm of problems right from the start. We had technology problems. We had supply chain problems. All of those kinds of things that just hit us. And our target demographic in the downtown is really seniors. The downtown is a curious place. You see young families go by. That's one of our demographics in the downtown. You'll see seniors go by. That's very much another demographic in the downtown. The parking demographic is largely seniors, and that's where it challenged us. So this motion came to council to say, look, even if we are in the digital parking business, is it user friendly? Is it adaptable? Does it make sense? Are we penalizing people for coming downtown rather than incentivizing them from coming downtown? It's a bit of a juggling act. The merchants downtown want to have access to parking on a continuous basis for their customers. So if we take the price tag off parking, people will typically park and stay there.
Right.
That's it. So that's the challenge in that sense. On the other hand, we have people that are saying that parking app and so on is difficult for them, and they don't want to come downtown to adapt to it. So this motion will enable us to take a look at those issues. We'll get some real-time data on what's happening. I can tell you, one of the few perks the mayor has is free parking. And if I was to use the parking app, I may be similarly challenged as many of our seniors are. And I'll soon be without that perk in 4 months. So I'm looking forward to this motion coming back.
I think you'll be surprised how easy it is.
Thank you for saying it, because there is a lot of feedback from people that say the parking app works. I've never had to use it. It's just loaded in my phone and it just ticks away to go. So I'm looking forward to being a user that is happy with it in 4 or 5 months. My wife, who doesn't get free parking regularly, does not. She uses that app and is quite familiar with it, no problem at all.
I found it interesting in a former report that I was listening to about the glitch with the zeros and the O's.
Correct.
And that's similar with postal codes.
Is it? I did not know that.
Little trivia.
Well, it's useful trivia. When that came to council, we were not aware that Alberta does not put O's in their license plates, that it's a zero in their license. It's pretty amazing. But a lot of tickets got torn up over that and so on. So, yeah.
Interesting. Council extended the timeline for an updated capital budget policy and the final financial roadmap until July 21.
Yes.
Mayor, what additional work or clarity is needed to finalize these key financial tools, and what benefits do you expect the community will see when they're complete?
Great question. The issue itself is really a report that'll come to council that'll track the number of capital projects we have versus how much has been spent and how much is left. It's kind of like checking your account, if you will, to see what kind of cash balance you have left. So that report, I mean, it's an important report. However, the utility exercise that we just completed has taken up a lot of capacity for staff and so on. And so the report was due around the middle of June, and council just decided, look, another 30 days is not going to be overly critical. I think what it'll show when it does come to council is that our reserves continue to be healthy from a capital perspective. They're not healthy from an operating perspective, but they are from a capital perspective. And there'll be some comfort there for sure. The city needs a good capital plan is anywhere between $90 and $150 million a year. That helps support the economy. That helps keep the city in tip-top shape. The roads, the pipe systems, the electrical services, and those kinds of things. So I look forward to the report, but really it was a capacity issue.
Yeah, fair enough. Yesterday, council approved a new arm's-length governance model for economic development in Red Deer.
Yeah.
What will success look like under this new model, and how will council remain connected to the outcomes being delivered?
Yeah, that was actually one of the more fundamental steps forward, I think, that we've taken as a city for quite a long time, was to set that committee in direction, to give it some legs and get it moving. Economic development in the city is really a patchwork of many organizations, of which the city was almost by default the leader of the process. So you have, for example, the Chamber of Commerce, you certainly have Tourism Red Deer, the Build Group, the Development Group, all those folks that are in the economic development picture, but no one sort of focal point for economic development, which is a major weakness for Red Deer, and council and I recognize that. And so we went to the community and said, we're looking for a community solution. We're looking for business to get involved, for tourism to get involved, different sectors of the city to get involved, the social sector, the health sector, all those kinds of things. So the committee was formed. It brought a report to council within 4 months. When they brought their final report to us a few days ago, we were very enthusiastic about it. They'll now form a society, an actual economic development society. That will mean some changes in how we do economic development in the city, but it will be a fundamentally different approach and more in line with what other cities, particularly cities like Lethbridge and Airdrie, are doing. And we need to be competitive. And to be competitive, you want to have a value proposition that's clearly understood. And that was, I think, where we were missing the boat a little. And this committee and its work, which will include a working board, an executive director, all those components, this committee will be charged with a Red Deer identity, a Red Deer value proposition, and really a very concentrated, focused approach to economic development. It's pretty exciting, for sure. And board elections will occur probably January of this year. So keep your eye on them, and there may be a fit for you there. Who knows?
That would be exciting.
Well, there you go.
I'm impressed that not only being trailblazers for some of the things that Red Deer has developed, that other communities are seeing the value in, that you also are open to using models that you're seeing successful with other communities, and how effective this is going to be.
Yeah, thank you. We'd like to consider ourselves, and frankly, I consider us the leading city in Alberta. What else would you expect from the mayor? But we need to learn. It's anytime you sit and collaborate with people and collaborate with other cities across Alberta, across Canada for that matter, you'll always get a best practice. You'll always discover, and you'll trade a best practice for a best practice. So as I say, in the context of economic development, it became pretty obvious to us that we were just too scattered in our approach. Great approaches, great work being done, but we needed to funnel all of those approaches into one. And I think this will serve us very well.
Impressive. And can you tell me a little bit about how this new model is going to help Red Deer compete more effectively with other municipalities when it comes to attracting investment and supporting local business growth?
Yeah, Alberta is shifting in many ways in terms of how we are viewing different parts of Alberta. So, for example, Southern Alberta is now becoming known as an agribusiness kind of a market, for example. It's highly agricultural anyway, but now it's bringing value-added agribusiness ventures, canning, for example, dehydrating, all et cetera. Then you have the north, which is obviously the energy sector of Alberta, but the industrial heartland, which is up in Fort Saskatchewan, around Edmonton, and so on. And now you have this central Alberta. And, if you were to think, well, what's central Alberta really known for? And suddenly you list off 4 or 5 or 6 things, but you really can't list off 1 or 2.
Right.
And hang our head on saying, this is us. So are we, for example, a logistics hub for the province? I would argue yes. Could we be a transportation hub for the province? I would argue yes. Will we be, and I say this, not if, will we be a medical center of excellence for the province? That is where we will be. You mentioned Rotary and so on, and I'm assuming it was when I visited Rotary not long ago. Will we be a medical center of excellence? Will we be a research center of excellence when you think about what RDP is doing and so on? So these are the things the Economic Development Group will finalize and bring into focus so that when people think Central Alberta, that's the place to go. Another example, Dina, is the Justice Center, just here over your shoulder. It would easily be achievable if we were known as a mediation center or a justice center and so on. So tremendous amount of possibilities for the city, but that's really what the work of this committee will do.
We talked earlier too about what a strong community builder you are, and I think this is more evidence of how you've led Red Deer in that way.
Thank you.
Also at yesterday's meeting, Council endorsed a new governance model for Red Deer's electric utility, moving it toward a municipally controlled corporation.
Yes.
Transitioning to an MCC is a major shift. Why was this change needed, and what are the biggest advantages for Red Deerians?
Well, that is such a question. We could spend an hour on that. I know our producers would go crazy if that was the case, but anyway, we're not going to do that. So in a nutshell, every Red Deerian, every Albertan understands the electrification, if you will, of what's happening to us. We're seeing electricity in cars. We're seeing it in trains now. We're seeing solar power. We're seeing wind power. All of those incredible innovations in technology. The city is no different. The reality, though, is that cities outgrow their capacity to be able to fund all of the improvements in the grid, for example, in the infrastructure for electricity, because the cities are bound by lending limits imposed by the provincial government under the Municipal Government Act. So a couple of years ago, actually 3 years ago, administration came to us and said, our current or our status quo is not going to serve us 5 years from now, and certainly not 10 years from now, and so on. If every Red Deerian, I would say if even half of Red Deerians decided to buy an electric car tomorrow and put a charging facility in their garage, our grid would not be able to handle it. So that is a fact that we need to address. By forming a municipally controlled corporation, we keep the public ownership of the utility, which we've owned since 1923. So let's call it 100 years. So we keep the ownership of the utility, but because it's a separate corporation apart with arm's length from the city, I should say, the city will be the shareholder, but the MCC will be independent. and therefore it'll be able to borrow outside of the city constraints.
Right.
So the MCC, which is typical NMAX, for example, in Calgary, EPCOR in Edmonton, Medicine Hat is looking at an MCC. Lethbridge has a private provider for their utilities. Airdrie does as well. So this MCC will be on its feet probably by the end of 2027. So still has a couple of years to get established. But once it does get established, we'll be equipped to meet those challenges, those utility challenges in the future. We had to make the change now, or we just simply wouldn't be ready. And that would be a major problem, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Very interesting. Was there anything else from June's council meetings that you would like to mention?
Well, hard to, and usually when I wrap up, that's usually the wrap-up question, Dina, and so on. So hard to point to council's meeting per se, even though we talked about a lot of things, the housing grant to Habitat and the Economic Development Committee and the MCC. Hard to go there without mentioning the Mayor's Recognitions Awards from last week. We had over 500 people come down, celebrate the recognition awards. 3 outstanding Red Deerians, Renee Clark, Isabel Bolhouse, and Elder Linda Opus, recognized for community building, and so many other Red Deerians as well. So it's always an honor to do the MRA or Mayor's Recognition Awards. It was the last one for me, so made it bittersweet. So I wanted to throw that in. And in signing off, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, our emergency services are hard at work here at City Hall Park this afternoon. Mayor Chen signing off saying, keep well, keep safe, come down, visit City Hall Park, enjoy the summer red deer. We'll see you next month.